Hello and welcome to My Data Driven Life. I am Daniel and that is my dog behind me on the bed, and you are watching the Investing 101 series. So this is Investing 101. You can see a link to the slide deck and the YouTube playlist on this slide. This is video number 9 and we have 2 more after this one, the last of which is going to be a live stream. So in this video I show you how I manage my portfolio and give you some tips to help manage yours. And with that said, let's get started. So here's an outline of the video. First, we're going to talk about what I consider to be Robinhood's #1 missing feature. And no, I don't mean the ability to transfer crypto to another wallet. That's also a missing feature that I would love to see, but no, I'm talking about another missing feature. After that, I'm going to show you my current solution. It's a pretty jank solution, so yeah. If you want a template of that spreadsheet, just let me know, but it's too much manual work in my opinion. And then I'll show you my latest solution. I'll show you some apps that you can use to achieve this, especially if you have a simple set of accounts that you use for your banking and etc. Then I'll go over some general tips. So what is Robinhood's #1 missing feature? In my opinion, that would be a feature to allow you to better manage your portfolio and rebalance it and add to it over time. It's extremely cumbersome in my opinion, the way that they do it or the lack of the way that they do it. So what they actually offer is a field that you'll see in the information for a stock that you own positions in, and that field is called the portfolio diversity field. You'll see it on any individual stock's page, and it basically shows you out of your entire portfolio on Robinhood, what percentage is that stock or is that crypto. So while this is useful information, if you have a lot of stocks in your portfolio, then it's pretty much useless. There's also a recurring investments feature, which I have not personally used, but it basically allows you to schedule recurring buys of a certain stock or a certain crypto. This might be a viable way for you to grow your portfolio, but it's still a little too brittle for me. So time to show you my current, or rather my previous solution, which involved a spreadsheet. Okay, so I have this spreadsheet that I use to manage my portfolio, and I've got an overview page that basically shows that I have some stock holdings and I have some crypto holdings. Just keep in mind that this is only showing what I have on Robinhood, and I actually have stocks on M1 Finance now, and I have stocks on a few other apps. So this is not the entire picture, but this is just Robinhood. All right, I just fixed a field here. So anyway, I have target percentages that I set here, and then I have actual percentages. As you can see, whenever I was using this spreadsheet, crypto was still fairly low in value overall. And then in December 2020, it skyrocketed, and now it's hovering around 50,000 per Bitcoin. When I first set this up, it was around, I don't know, like 14,000 per Bitcoins. And here you can see a breakdown of all of the stocks that I own by sector. And this is basically a summary page of all stocks. And then here's the summary page of all my crypto. For some reason, Dogecoin doesn't work with the Google Finance formula, so I'm just kind of defaulting that to 0, but I have about $100 in Dogecoin right now. 2048 coins, which is 2 to the 10. I like these. Since I don't take Dogecoin too seriously, I like using meme numbers for for my positions. So yeah, whatever. I have these history sheets that I can use to enter new data. So anytime I make a purchase or a sell on Robinhood, I add that to this list as an entry right here, and that gets aggregated on the summary page. So crypto actually only has 1 page, but for each of the stock sectors, I have a separate sub summary page. So I've got one for ETFs that summarizes all my ETFs, and then I have a sheet where I do data entry for my ETFs, and it's a little bit messy. I've got a bunch of weird stuff going on here. Yeah, but basically I have a sheet for each of the stock sectors, and I have a sheet for crypto, and I aggregate them on these summary pages, and then that is further aggregated for this overall overview page. So yeah, this is a huge pain, and I pretty much abandoned this approach. I still keep it up to date because I do buy a few things on Robinhood nowadays, but not nearly as much as I used to. So, you know, hopefully I can keep maintaining this and maybe get some value out of it, but I don't see it providing too much value now that I have a new solution. And speaking of that new solution, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So let me go through my current solution, which basically consists of the following steps. First, I decide which sectors and asset classes I want to focus on. And you can find out what asset classes and sectors I chose in the video that's linked on the slide deck. That is number 6 in the series. If you go to the description, you can find a link for the entire playlist and you can go reference that video if you need to. And after I decide on the sectors and asset classes, I basically decide on percentages and I can adjust those as needed over time. And then the part that greatly simplifies this process, I use an app that makes this easy, and that app is M1 Finance. And stay tuned for the very next video after this one where I review the M1 Finance app. And then finally, I have a separate spreadsheet where I track my net worth and I track the distribution of that net worth across asset classes. So just a recap from the basic strategy video that I was referencing in the previous slide. This is a slide from that video, and this is my overall portfolio for stocks on M1 Finance. Now, one thing that is missing, and I kind of have to eat my words here from the previous video, the one thing that's missing is bonds, and bonds would have really helped me diversify and prevent my net worth from dropping as much as it did from the recent stock market crash, which is not really a crash, it's more of a rotation from value stocks to bonds. So I'm not sure if I'm going to add bonds right away, but I do think I should add it eventually. Even though it's not going to generate as much of a return as these other things, it does give me a little bit more peace of mind to know that that's not going to be correlated with a stock market crash. And then another slide from that previous presentation, this one just shows my target for cash, crypto, and stocks. So I'm targeting 10% for cash, 20% for crypto, and the rest, which is 70%, goes into stocks. And like I said, I might add bonds in the future. So I blurred out a few fields just to protect my privacy here a bit. I'm not sure if I want to share my total net worth, but maybe I will at some point in the future. But for now, I'm just hiding a bunch of details for privacy reasons. So in my spreadsheet, I track all the finance apps and accounts that I use. And here you can see some of the apps that we've already talked about in this series: Robinhood, Acorns, M1 Finance. BlockFi is a great way to earn interest while you're holding crypto. It's not FDIC insured like, bank accounts are. So I wouldn't really recommend that if you're not willing to lose it. So I've got a little bit of crypto in there, got a little bit of crypto in PayPal. And then I have a few bank accounts. Gemini is just the exchange that I use to buy crypto, and then I immediately transfer it to BlockFi to earn interest. And then Webull is a great alternative to Robinhood, I would say, but I don't really use it that much. So on row 3, I've got my net worth that I track at certain points. I have to do this manually right now. I want to automate this in the future, but for now, every now and then when I feel like it, I go ahead and write down the total value from each account, and then I summarize it on row 3. And then I aggregate across categories, specifically cash, crypto, and stocks, just like that previous slide. And here you can see that initially my allocation was not ideal. I had a lot of cash sitting in my bank and I had too much crypto. And so what I did was I took some of that cash and then invested it in the stock market. And then in the second screenshot, you can see that cash is a little bit lower, stocks are a little bit higher, and crypto is lower just because Bitcoin kind of crashed a bit. There are some app alternatives that you can use. The first one I recommend is called Personal Capital. I don't know if it's available on Android, but it's available on iPhone. I'm pretty sure it's available on Android. But anyway, Personal Capital is an app that's used for tracking your wealth building. So you connect all your accounts that you have, like you can connect Robinhood, you can connect, Chase Bank or whatever, and then you can see, charts that show your net worth over time. And this is a great way to keep track of things on kind of a macro scale, which is probably good enough if you have your pies set up in M1 Finance, which we'll talk about in the next video. Subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you know when that video drops. And then Personal Capital also has some basic budgeting features. So if you need a budgeting app, it might fill your needs. But honestly, if you want a budgeting app, then I would recommend Mint, since it's completely focused on budgeting. But Mint also happens to have a feature where you can track your net worth over time. So you can also use that to do the same thing that I do in my spreadsheet. Why don't I use apps like this? Well, the simple reason is that I've tried all of these apps and none of them support all of the accounts that I have. And I want to be able to track everything holistically. And, I'm not too happy if a few apps are not included in that list. So I just went with the spreadsheet route. And I'll eventually make my own app. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to talk about that on my YouTube channel for sure. And I'm going to talk about that on my website, which is mydatadrivenlife.com or mddl.me. Some general tips for managing your portfolio and rebalancing and stuff. You want to periodically think about your portfolio critically, just like I'm doing after this rotation from stocks to bonds. I'm kind of kicking myself for not having invested in bonds as well. And I'm pretty sure I referred to bonds as boomer territory, or maybe that was mutual funds. But yeah, I'm eating my words now. So, but yeah, periodically rethink your portfolio, simplify it if you can, pick fewer stocks to invest in, diversify if you can. If you're not properly diversified, if you're way too heavily weighted in tech stocks, for example, you can diversify a bit there. Try not to sell any of the positions that you have unless absolutely necessary, because this is a taxable event. And anytime you sell something, you owe taxes, which could be up to 30 or 40%. If you want to rebalance, if it's not currently balanced as well as you want it to be, then you can simply just add more to the areas that are underperforming, and then it's balanced. Another important thing to do is to diversify across accounts and technologies. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to use one Gmail account to manage all your accounts. You don't want to use one bank account to hold all your finances, even though bank accounts are FDIC insured, or at least I hope your bank is FDIC insured if you're in the United States. So if one bank goes insolvent, then you have to get your money back, and that might complicate things. And I would especially diversify stuff like crypto that isn't FDIC insured. Stocks generally have their own insurance policy that's somewhat related to FDIC. And finally, don't give yourself too much manual work. That first spreadsheet that I was working on is a prime example of that. It took a ton of manual data entry, and it was really cumbersome, and it was difficult to maintain, and it was difficult to add features to, and it just became an absolute pain to use, and I abandoned it. So keep things simple and keep things, streamlined. Just start out simple, and then you can think of ways to automate things. Speaking of ways to automate things, I plan to do a video in the future where I show you how you can make a database from scratch without writing a single line of code. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about that one. So yeah, that was episode 9, and you can see all the previous videos posted here. You can also access the playlist at mddl.link/investing101-YT, which is also in the description. If you want to sign up for Acorns or Robinhood, use my affiliate links in the description. Acorns will give you $5 free whenever you deposit $5, and Robinhood will give you 1 free stock. And finally, please join my Discord community if Discord is your kind of thing. I'm actually planning to do a Clubhouse-like talk on my Discord pretty soon. I'm just going to invite a bunch of people to voice, and we're just going to talk about random stuff like space exploration or the environment or finances or whatever. It's going to be a live Q&A/Clubhouse clone, and I'm going to stream that on YouTube, so you can watch the VOD there after the stream. Okay, bye.